This month's Q&A was suggested by a Patreon member of mine called Becky, and she asked, how do you make pastel colours in watercolour without adding white? Today I'm going to show her the difference between using just pure watercolour and also adding white to be able to make a pastel shade. Let's get started. Now watercolours are very unique in the way they are, aren't they? Because of the way that they are transparent when you add water to them. When you look at my mixing palette here, you can see that the colours are very, well, intense, aren't they? Look at these colours here. How bright those colours are. So if I add a bit of water in there, first of all, let's go for this one here, which is the Scarlet Lake. Okay. So straight from the half pan. Really rich. And what a beautiful colour that is as well. Look at that. Very, very rich. But how do we make something like this colour into a pastel shade? Well, all you need to do, don't tell anybody this, it's a secret, okay? All you need to do is add water. So what I'm going to do, if I get my pipette, add plenty of water. It doesn't matter how many drops I put in there, I need quite a lot of water for this. I've still got paint on the brush. Add that in. But you want this really, really watery. And I mean really watery. So we'll try that one there and see what that one looks like, shall we? So there we go. Try that. And you can see straight away this is a much lighter shade of that red, but it's more of a pastel colour. So if I take most of that paint off the brush, just mop this up a little bit more like that, look. When that dries, it will be more of a pastel shade. So all you need to do when you're making pastel colours is just add more water to your pigments. Let's try cadmium orange. This one here, look. Pop a little bit of that in there. Tiny amounts of water, so I want to get a nice rich colour there. This is neat straight out of the half pan. And as you can see, it's a very vibrant orange. That's lovely, that, isn't it? I don't want to make these too neat. Nah. But if we add some water in there, and I mean plenty, like that, we can now try that with plenty of water in it. And see what that gives us. And straight away you got a much lighter version of that colour. But all we've simply done is add water. That's it. If we add even more water to that one, and I mean lots, let's put it all in, like this, we can then have an even lighter shade of that as well. And I mean much lighter. And that's like a pastel orange, isn't it? When it dries, which watercolours very often dry that a little bit lighter. How much lighter depends on how much water and pigment you've got within that mix. But straight away, you've got a nice pastel shade. You can go even lighter than that as well if you wanted to. So this sort of lightness. Let's add some more water in there. Let's really go for it. More water and less pigment. So just a smidging, is that a word for you? Smidging of pigment. That can be the word of the day. Smidging. That's a real light shade of that orange. But again, it could be classed more of a pastel shade, couldn't it? If I did the same with the red, and I mean plenty of water, a bit more pigment in first of all. Try that one though. And we'll put that one there. That's similar to this one, but slightly lighter. And even more water. And I mean even more. Pop it in there, look. Look at that. Oh! A really pale shade of it. So just a hint of colour within that water now. And that will give you a very pale pastel colour. As simple as that. If we do that with another colour, let's say phthalo green, this one here, look. I do like phthalo green, it's a lovely bright green. Pop that in there. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's rich. We'll try one more. So let's pop the phthalo green, I don't know, let's pop it over there. Doesn't really matter, does it? It's only for testing on this paper. By the way, the paper is Bockingford, £140, cold pressed. And the brushes I tend to use a lot of are ones from Rosemary & Co. So that's near on neat paint on there, isn't it? On this kind of very wobbly looking square. Again, add water. So that's quite a reasonable amount of water in there, but it's not massive water. If I add even more water and make it very, very watery, then you'll find it's more of a pastel colour. Look at that. And there is a nice pastel shade of this lovely phthalo green. So far we've got 3 nice pastel colours. We've got the red, the orange, and also the green. And these will vary depending on what red, oranges and greens you use. And you can use a variety of different colours within your mixing palette as well, of course. Have a play with the ones that you've got and do that. Now, what about using white paints? How does that work? Let's have a go. Let's try out the Scarlet Lake first of all. Let's give that brush a quick rinse out. And then we grab some white paints. This one is a mixture of watercolour and gouache. And it's one by Shinhan Pass. There you go, got that one there. Colour Design. That's the series 899. So it's worth having a look on the old Tinternet for that. And I do have a link down below for it as well. Have a look for my materials list, okay? So if we add that in there, and we'll see what happens. Some people say that when you add white to watercolour, it can look a little bit chalky. It depends on what effect you're after. And that's added more of a pink feel to it, hasn't it? It really has. We'll try that and see how it looks on the paper, shall we? I'm going to put it there actually because I do want to add a little bit more red to it as well. I've gone overboard with the white a little bit. But look at that. That's a lovely sort of pink shade, isn't it? And yes, I can lighten that down as well. Let's make it more of a square. But that'll do. That's nearly enough, isn't it? Let's grab a little bit more red. Scarlet Lake. One of my favourite colours. Just add that into one side and see what happens. You'll find you can make the paint look opaque rather than transparent. So you're losing the transparency nature of watercolours. So it's down to personal choice really with something like this, isn't it? And if I water that red down, and I mean really water it down, the mixture that I've got the white in, as you can see there, what's that give us? I'm going to add more water to that, you know. Quite an opaque looking pastel shade. And it is lighter, as you can see, than the ones above, especially that one. I've added even more water to it. And I mean, lots and lots of water. Then, you find it will fade a little bit as it dries, but it's a little bit paler. So that's what we get from adding white to red. But you can see you haven't got the transparency. You can compare that to this red here. I know it's a little bit richer probably, but that's because we haven't got any white in the first one, but more of a pinky shade, isn't it? Let's do the same with cadmium orange. Normally I tell all my members to wash your brush out before you go into your white paint, but because this is a demonstration, I'm not too worried about that. Oh, that's really pale. Look at that. No, that's far too pale. I'll put it on anyway. Yeah. So this is more of a pastel-y orange now. But yes, I agree that it can look quite chalky, can't it? More water, sir. There you go, try that. That's a much watered down version of that colour now. And finally, more pigment. We'll try that. A bit more. That's nearly dry, look at that, I know. And again, even the darkest colour, the richer orange, has been toned down a little bit. I can see straight away that I prefer the version without white, but that's down to personal choice, it really is. And yes, you can still pull some of the paint off as well, depending obviously if the paint is sustaining pigment. So worth thinking about that before you start working on the painting. I do like the flat look when you got the white in there, that's nice. But I do prefer the version without the white paint, because you're still maintaining the transparency of those watercolours. And it also depends on the project that you're working on, so bear that in mind. Now, I know I mentioned white paint quite a few times. I do have a video here on YouTube, that one up there in the corner, on how to use white paints within your watercolours, and which ones I tend to prefer. I'll see you there.